I'd like to call to order the Downtown Development Authority, Village of Oxford Board Meeting, December 21st, 2020, 7:30. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Justin, we're going to do a roll call, but when you do the roll call, we need everybody to state their name and where they are zooming in from, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Nicole Ellsworth.
Yes, here, Oxford, Michigan.
Rod Charles.
Zooming in from Beamer Court in Oxford, Michigan.
Dorothy Johnson.
Coming at you from Squaw Lagoon Drive in Oxford, Michigan.
Pete Schultz.
Here from my home, Oxford Oaks.
Laura Herfy.
I'm here zooming in from the beautiful village of Oxford.
Jonathan Old.
I'm here. I'm zooming in from Oxford, Michigan.
And Kelsey Cook.
Here, Oxford, Michigan.
And Justin Wilcock here from the village of Oxford.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items this evening?
Nicole, if I may,
Yes.
just wanted to mention for the record, for Justin, this meeting is being held pursuant to Public Act 228 of 2020, and that's the Open Meetings Act provision that allows remote meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment from anybody? We'll move on to the consent agenda then, and the approval of the proposed agenda. The approval of the November 23rd, 2020 special meeting minutes.
I make a motion on December 21st, 2020 at 7:30-ish that we approve the proposed agenda and approve the November 23rd, 2020 special meeting minutes at 7:33.
I'll second that.
Is there any changes or discussion? We'll get roll call then.
Yes, ma'am. Nicole Ellsworth.
Yes.
Rod Charles.
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson.
Yes.
Pete Schultz.
Yes.
Laura Herfy.
Yes.
Jonathan Old.
Yes.
Kelsey Cook.
Yes.
And Justin Wilcock. Yes.
Thank you. We'll move along to the director's report.
Moving right along, we're running promotions for our Oxford Takeout through Facebook ads. We're running our 12 Days of Oxford promotion. We're running a handful of other shop local advertisements in an attempt to get folks to spend money locally in Oxford. We also have finished the M24 work for the season. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. We also have some other things to discuss with regards to weatherization and wintertime activities. We've got some Oakland County grant money that's available to us. There's a handful of things. Again, we'll talk about the sound system. We'll talk about the M24. We'll talk about overall DDA projects that we've got going. And there's a handful of other things. So basically we're moving forward. we're working very diligently to promote our retailers and our restaurants for takeaway. Some new rules came out with regards to outdoor dining, and so you can see some of the attempts to match up with the new outdoor dining regulations. And we're going to see what we can pull together in terms of some areas for people to wait outside for their takeaway rather than in their cars, so that we can see some more activity in downtown. And I apologize, I'm under the weather tonight tremendously, so if I sound quiet, please just ask me to speak up and I will try to do my best.
Nothing else. I'll make a motion to receive and file the director's report.
Second,
Okay, moved and seconded. Can we get the roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Nicole Ellsworth,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Laura Herfy,
Yes.
Jonathan Nold,
yes.
Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
and Justin Wilcock, yes.
Thank you very much. We'll move along to the financials, please.
Make a motion to receive and file the financial statements and revenue expenditure reports and to pay the bills for December of 2020 in the amount of $22,071.02.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on it? Okay, well then we'll take the roll call again, please, Justin.
Yes, ma'am. Nicole
Thank
Ellsworth,
you. Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Laura Herfy,
Yes.
Jonathan Nold,
Yes.
Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
and Justin Wilcock, yes.
Thank you very much. We'll move along to the unfinished old business with an M24 update, please.
Construction is done for the year. We are looking at having landscaping, furnishings and fixtures, pavement markings, and our corrections punch list accomplished next spring. Technically, it's set for April 15th. However, it may start earlier than that. It may start later than that. We'll know more as we get closer to that date. But most of the work has been completed and under budget as far as we can tell. We're still the last bit of numbers as we get them from MDOT. So it's going to be, the lights are up and running. It looks pretty. The pedestrian crossings are working. I've already received complaints about the pedestrian crossings backing up traffic to turn left at Burdick, which is a good thing. And we'll wrap it up in the spring, and we'll have a grand opening celebration in the spring once we can all have people downtown.
I have a quick question, Glenn. I noticed there was a sign knocked down on the island at the north end of the village. Who's responsible for replacing and repairing?
MDOT.
Yes, that's MDOT's work. I mean, anything that happens within the right of way is MDOT. We will be looking at moving the one information sign that's at East and 24. We're going to try to back it up a couple of feet because it does block the view southbound for traffic. That had been checked out, had been approved by MDOT, but it looks like it's a problem. So we're going to be moving that sign hopefully in the spring, if not sooner.
Hey Glenn, this is Joe. A
Yes.
little follow up on that. Yeah, the traffic safety folks did look at that last week and they revisited it in their own minds, I guess, and think it might need to be moved. It won't be able to be moved because of the way they are cored and sunk into the ground, the post, but I offered to have the DPW just remove the sign panel for safety reasons. And it was dark when I got here today and dark when I left. I didn't even look at it, but I think Don, those guys may have removed the panel Friday. Just bring ahead and remove it off for safekeeping and to make it safer. So if it is missing, that's why the DPW was going to perhaps remove that if possible.
Which one is that? Is that the
Right
one
in front
down
of the
by,
Magic Brownie.
okay, yep, that one looks sketchy where it's placed.
Yeah. And the sign is right in front of the Magic Brownie as you cross right there. I think sometimes what's happening is some of the trucks are used to coming in around back to the buildings on the Northeast Quad. They're used to coming out on East Street and turning southbound, which is a left turn. With that island there, they're not going to be able to. And I think perhaps maybe a truck did it anyways. That's just speculation, but I've already heard some people not happy that you're not gonna be able to turn left there. You're not gonna be able to turn left, southbound left onto East Street there. There are still some of those signs, the no left turn signs and stuff that need to be put up, as well as the no turn on red signs and a couple other signs that POCO, the sign contractor, is still working on getting up.
The sign that was hit in the pedestrian island, the northernmost one, has been replaced. I noticed that it was fixed today.
Oh, good. I guess as long as I'm already, we're on the M24 thing, I just was looking at, as we're sending off another bill to MDOT today, a check. To date, $467,473, including the $99,000 check today that was going out, is what we've spent so far between the village and the DDA on the project. That doesn't take into account, I think, about $135,000 that the village spent through the water fund for the water line service leads and replacement lines, and a lot of curb stops, replacements, and D-box and valves. But that's all as planned at the beginning of this project from the water fund to pay for. So that's not included in the 467,000 figure. That's about all I have to bring up on it right now.
Okay, is there anything else on the M24 update? Okay, we'll move along for a sound system update for downtown.
We'll be doing testing on the sound system. We'll be doing testing on the phase 1 of the project this week. We're moving forward. It's within budget to operate on this. Last month, we had a motion to go ahead and approve that. I've spoken with Aeronetics. We're moving forward on this. We'll be doing our signal testing. Once that's gone through, we will then move forward on getting the equipment shipped to us. The availability is early January. They are running behind on availability of the product. That seems to be something that a lot of communities are doing, is installing these, and they're running well behind on this. So we should have this in place by mid-January, provided we can get this scheduled with DPW to do an install. And it takes less than an hour to install each of the units on a light pole in our downtown. So we'll be installing those between Denison and East Street.
When does Aeronetics want a deposit check?
My conversation with Jeff is as soon as we can get them a check, that'll be fine. They'll be getting a check after this bill run that was approved tonight, so that with the next round of checks that'll be cut, they'll be getting a deposit check so that we can move forward on this.
What's the amount of the deposit check, Glenn?
Just under $13,000.
So 50%, if my memory's right, is that what the
That's
target is?
That's correct. There's a 50% deposit and then the remainder balance once we get the equipment.
Where is the test equipment right now that we have?
The test equipment right now is sitting on my desk in the village offices. My laptop has the software installed. Jeff got me that software last week, which unfortunately caused my computer to crash for 3 days, but we are up and running with it. I ran a test on the software this afternoon and we're good to go.
So he sent you a thumb drive. Is that at the village offices too?
No, he actually sent me a zip file. So that's in the email.
Hey, Glenn, let me, this is Joe. I just want to speak to this. So Don is not concerned much at all about installing the speakers on the streetlight poles and things like that. The larger hurdle we're going to deal with is the antenna and repeater, master repeater, I think it is, on top of the roof of the museum. Inclement weather, ice. The DPW guys they're fine at hooking things on light poles, climbing up or getting up on the roof. Inclement weather. How exactly we're going to attach that? There's a couple options up there, but one of them may require a little bit extra work and some extra roof padding if we want to create a new tripod. Also, yes, we can come down the west side of the museum building like the charter cable that's already there. But then as it goes into the basement, it's not exactly clear how it gets over and up into the front where the modem and stuff is currently. It goes through some boxed in areas. So I just want to temper everyone's expectations there that that's not something DPW is going to whip out in a day. It may even be something that's kind of out of their line of work.
We may look at bringing in Aeronetics to do the installation on that. I know we're going to bring them in to do the equipment setup and do the testing and do all of that. We may ask them to run that equipment as well.
Yeah. And it is something that maybe even our local electrical contractor could do. They're used to running and chasing wiring through stuff. I'm not sure if Aeronetics has somebody that would be coming with them that could be able to do that. I know the setup and running through the process was, but the program setup, I should say.
Yeah, they'll be coming in to do a day's worth of setup and testing and training. As far as running the cabling and running the wiring, that's something that we can easily use our computer people to do or use a local electrician to do if DPW doesn't feel comfortable to run the Cat 5.
Yeah, the folks that we do at run our cameras and all of our Cat 5 stuff at the village would be a good option as well.
Any questions on that?
Okay, we can move along then to the DDA project update.
Okay. As far as DDA project updates, I'm going to run through this list. In terms of the furnishings, the trash cans, the benches, the flower planters, those are going to be picked up in early January. I'm still working with Highland Powder Coat to determine what exactly the day, and I can connect Don with that as well because they are currently stored at the DPW yard. But they will be coming in and they will be picking them up and they will be taking and refinishing those in January so that we have them ready to go for this spring. So we're moving forward on that per last month's motion. In terms of the social district, I've reached out to Oakland County. They're looking at looking how they can assist communities with doing social districts. So I'm working with them and their legal department to determine exactly what we can and cannot do. The attorneys for Michigan Downtowns Association have moved on to other issues, but we're still looking to see exactly whether or not we can use easements or whether we simply have to go forward with, the blanket statement of all village property and moving forward with that. So I'm working with Oakland County on that, and I'm hoping to have something by next month where we can look at what we can do with regards to social districts. Now, this is something that goes to village council because they're the folks who are going to have to approve or deny this. And so that's where we're looking at this. Any questions on that?
Jonathan, do you have any input on that? I know you were someone engaged in social districts.
My main concern has not changed. It's crossing the borders of all the properties on in the area to see if we can do that legally and how we work that out.
And that's what we're working on right now, is trying to get a legal opinion with regards to easements versus unintentional movement from public domain to private domain. That's something that I'm waiting to hear back from other communities as well, because there are issues with regards to where the property lines are. And I don't think we want to be out there striping our sidewalks with where the village property ends. I think we need to be moving forward on this for the spring so that we can have a environment that is both profitable for the restaurants and bars, and B, does not expose the village to excess liability.
Nicole?
Yes,
John,
sir.
no, two issues. I think we need to do that with all haste because time is going to slip away from us and we'll be looking at springtime, wondering what happened over the winter. The second thing I've seen on social media, and I'm not a social media person, but I've seen where different communities have brought in ice fishing shanties as a promotion. And the customers have purchased items, beverages or items and taken it out to the parking lots and sat in their ice fishing shanties with heat and things. Has that been discussed by anybody? Anybody have any knowledge on that on the board? And if that were to happen, can that happen in the village?
I can speak to some of that. Homegrown Brewery has brought in another structure in addition to their 2 igloos. Something that we're going to be talking about in a little bit is some of the weatherization materials that are available through Oakland County grants, one of which is an igloo. I personally have issues with bringing in contained spaces, given the new Health and Human Services guidelines with regards to outdoor dining and having to have them be in a certain proximity to an open wall. And so these types of structures, I'm not certain are going to match up with the Department of Health and Human Services guidelines. But if they do, I'm fine with that. And so
I've had an opportunity to talk with people. Some of them are business owners and they're beyond desperate. So some of these ideas that are floating out there may happen within the village. And I just wanted to make sure the board was aware that those things could happen. And whether the board was in favor or not in favor, the village in favor or not in favor, and the legal ramifications of all those things.
I myself have done a little bit of research on these big, like winterized tents that can be rented at like a month, 2 months, 3 month kind of intervals. where they actually bring out like slabs of cement to secure the tent down instead of, you know, having to drill in a post or whatever, because obviously we don't want any of that kind of stuff to happen with all of our new sidewalks and that. I am thinking, and I mean, this is only my opinion, that something like that may be helping out with like the rental of, you know, a sound structure throughout downtown rather than all these little makeshift tents and all this stuff. We might run into some problems with that. People just setting up little, you know, shelters wherever they want to. Maybe if we had something, you know, that was put together by the company and brought out and secured and could withstand the weather, that might turn out to be a little bit better. I do know the wind whips through downtown, and we've had even our umbrellas in the spring go into the road. So I am very worried with these little ice shanties that perhaps, you know, cars can hit them. Wind can pick them up and blow them away. You know, there's many different things that can happen with that.
Nicole, it's Joe. Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay, a couple things. When John, you'd mentioned about homegrown, all of other activities take place on their private property, for one, which they have plenty of private property space, which is helpful for their purpose. They did come to the Planning Commission and get special use approval for their igloos out on their back patio. I was unaware of the ice shanty thing, but obviously ice shanties are made to put up with the weather and the wind out on lakes. But I guess if we were going to bleed over into the public space, that's where I'd be a little more concerned, I guess, from the village's perspective. I know a few months back when the outdoor dining and things were coming up, council approved some administrative things to fast track, so to speak, on some of these outdoor dining areas. But the only clause was if they had to go and get into the adjoining public space near a building, that we'd have to get some insurance coverage, just add us to their policy, so to speak. But try to make it as easy and keep the hurdles at bay best we could. And I think everyone, myself and the council, are all on page with that. But again, dotting our I's and crossing our T's is still what we have to remain vigilant about. So the tents, some of the tents that were up in the past aren't quite winter ready. They had to be changed out perhaps for snow load. I talked to Pete today about, you know, some of the inspections, but as people get some of these heaters, whether it's through this grant process or their own, that safety, of course, is number one. And just to be sure people are going to be not in anything that becomes unsafe. But I think you have 5 council members and myself that are all willing to entertain any positive idea there.
I have something to say, guys. Speaking in regards to the Oakland County grant that we all got that email about, that stated that they were going to give away the heaters and all that good stuff. And again, this is coming from the chamber since I'm on their board. We went ahead and ordered 50 of everything for all the businesses in downtown. And they will be signing a waiver because this is stuff, supplies for them to keep, because obviously Oakland County is trying to help these businesses. And a majority, I want to say about 90% of the businesses did reply back to the email that was sent out saying, yes, please, any help would be, you know, beneficial to them. So we haven't had any negative feedback yet. Everybody said that they wanted this information and they wanted the supplies. And so therefore we're not going to be held liable because they're signing that waiver off. So just wanted to throw that out there. And this again was the chamber ordered it since the DDA didn't order it.
Nicole, could I speak to
Yes,
that?
sir.
I see that is the next item on the agenda, so I don't want to jump ahead per se, but the application is in the village's hands. It came via email. The Oakland County has requested that the DDAs and chambers work in concert together for any application. The application is pending to go out yet. I spoke to Amy today. I spoke to our legal counsel in regards to any waivers. If we village/DDA were to turn this application in and receive any of these equipment items, and then how can we best get it out? We're willing to store it. I went out back and looked out back today where we could store some of the items if they do come in out back with Mike Sowell today. If they come in, if we are going to perhaps hand out some heaters and such, a simple one pager that Bob Davis said he would put together for us to say for the business owners, restaurant owners, that by signing this, they understand that it's up to them to operate it safely and things like that. That was just the only concern I had on that end. The grant information that came out today showed a total of 250 heaters available currently countywide. And I think it was 105 of the greenhouses. So although we'll like to put in and get what we can, I think there may be a small amount available right now and perhaps more coming later.
Maybe a little bit of clarification. Is the program that Laura talked about where the chamber went ahead and ordered 50 of these the same as the one we're talking about that we got the email about?
Yes.
Is that the same program?
Yes, nothing has been ordered yet. It is due. It has to be approved by the board, a public entity, which would be this village or the DDA, which I talked to Bob Davis again about today, that the village DDA is what I read it. It meets the definition of the public entity. In order to sign the interlocal agreement, which authorizes the county to give out this information or give out the materials, a board has to approve it, and we have to provide minutes or a resolution to that effect when we turn the application in. The application is due tomorrow at 5 p.m. It came out Friday. So no application has been turned in at this time. It's pending discussion and approval by this board.
Yes, the original initiative through Oakland County has been set aside. The county commission moved to allocate a couple $1 million for this project. We got the information on Thursday night, about 10 o'clock at night, that this is where we're going forward with this. So anything prior to today that's been submitted or happened or anything is null and void, because the county had to move through their issues. And so what we're looking at now is an opportunity to resubmit for our restaurants in downtown, so that we can get some exterior heaters, possibly some sanitation equipment, possibly some greenhouses. Again, I'm less than enamored with the greenhouses, but I am more than willing to move forward and support getting outside heating elements to allow people to wait for their food pickup and wait for these other issues. We have to balance MDHHS regulations with what we can do in our downtown. So
John Knoll here, Nicole.
Yes, sir.
I'm confused. Joe was talking about the chamber ordering heaters, but said we had to approve it at one of the boards. Is that for tonight's work? Are we to do something tonight, take action? And then I'm confused what Glenn was saying about all the other things that we can get between greenhouses and different things. I need some direction so I can think this through.
I want to add to what John just mentioned. I'm a little confused because Laura said the Chamber of Commerce has already gone ahead. So is that null and void, or are we starting all over again?
yes, that is null and void. We are starting all over again. What we are looking at through Oakland County, because they got ahead of themselves again, much like they've done with other issues, is they're looking at each city, village, or township applying for certain materials. And so those materials are outdoor propane heaters. They've got some greenhouses. They have 105 greenhouses available for outdoor usage. They have electrostatic sprayers. They have disinfectant solution. They have propane refills for the propane heaters. Initially, they had looked at electric heaters, extension cords, and things of that nature. But once they got into looking at it, they pulled away from all of those electronic electric devices because of issues. The other thing to keep in mind is none of these heaters can go under a tent. So it's going to be tent adjacent heaters. And so it's these, Oakland County basically had originally put out a grant program for the restaurants. But after visiting all of the legal issues, they've since canceled that. So yes, whatever the chamber did is no longer valid. And so what they're looking at is this program that they announced last Thursday night. The applications are due tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And we have to look at how we are going to apply for this within the village of Oxford.
Does this
Glenn?
equipment become
Yes, Pete?
owned by the village?
Yes, yes, it becomes property of the village.
Paul,
Pete,
in order to move this thing along, then I would make a motion that the DDA signed as a local government, and we sign the memo of understanding with Oakland County local agreement to go ahead and facilitate this program.
Pete, should Nicole then, as the DDA chairperson, sign it?
I think that it should be Joe Madore from the village signing, because they're going to be technically be the owners of it and everything.
I'll second that for discussion. Who's going to facilitate all this? Who's going to man the heaters? Who's going to turn them on and turn them off? Where are you going to place them? What safety devices do we have in place? And the disinfectant and all the sprayers, who's going to operate those and keep those in inventory?
I believe that's all going to be up to the business owners that are getting them.
Nicole, this is Joe.
yes, Joe.
Glenn, if you could share my screen, I have the documents. I have a picture of the heaters. I have the interlocal agreement and things like that. If everyone would like to see that, and it shows the numbers available. It's a pretty straightforward application that they have, but I don't know if you can allow me to share.
I think we all have that in our packet,
Oh,
correct?
okay.
Yeah, we received a copy.
All right. Well, okay. It sounded like maybe some hadn't seen it yet. If you look
Kelsey?
at
Sorry, Joe, go
I
ahead.
see it.
the interlocal agreement, the way I read it is we will receive it from the county, but then we will dole it out to the end users. And so they will be responsible for maintaining it and storing it and using it properly.
And that's where that waiver comes into play that you were talking about earlier.
Yes, what I
Once
talked to
you
Bob
receive
Davis.
it.
Yes.
I
And
think,
now Kelsey. Oh, sorry.
I just
Kelsey
wanna
had her hand up.
For purposes of the motion, I think we should authorize the chairperson to sign the interlocal agreement, just because it's going to be between Oakland County and Oxford, Village of Oxford DDA. I mean, Joe Madore can help administer whatever property is received, but I think the chairperson should sign the agreement.
Yeah, the public body entity listed on there would be the Oxford DDA.
Mhm.
Okay, so do you need me to come by the office tomorrow and do that?
Yes.
sounds like it.
We have a
Okay.
motion on the floor in a second. We need to have a vote.
Okay, it's been, so can I get the roll call, please?
Justin?
Sorry. Nicole Osworth,
Yes,
Rod Charles,
Yep.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Laura Herphy,
Yes.
Jonathan Nold,
Yes,
Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
and Justin Wilcock, yes.
I have a point of order to ask. Is this part of
Yes,
new
sir.
business or is this continued unfinished business?
I think we jumped right into the restaurant support grant, so it'd be the
Okay.
8A.
Very good.
Just a
Thank
quick
you.
comment, if I may, Nicole.
Yes.
At one point, we are going to have to go back with what Jonathan Knowles said about administration of all these things that we'd be potentially getting. And I bring up the fact too that hopefully this virus ends up going away and these things can be used for other projects in the future. Like even you mentioned the farm garden thingamajigger, what I think that's called, you know, that we could use that in the summertime possibly. That's it, just a comment.
Thank you. Should we move along to the election of the treasurer?
Just to put closure on the restaurant grant, I will work with Joe Medor tomorrow to complete the application so that we can get it into Oakland County by 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to provide heaters and sanitation equipment for our local restaurants.
And Nicole, this is Joe. Before we leave that, I
Yes.
would, could I please make one more mention?
Sure.
The interlocal agreement, if you look at the last couple pages, Exhibit 1 and requirements and for resources provided by the county. The very first part talks about that the public body has consulted with its Chamber of Commerce, DDA, CIA, or other development authority for its input on which restaurants and bars are ideal candidates to benefit from resources provided by county under this agreement. The county had asked the chambers and the DDAs to work in concert together versus getting individual applications. So there might be one or two restaurants perhaps outside of the village or outside the DDA district that are looking to receive one of these heaters if we get enough to provide them. So this isn't exclusively a DDA area grant if this chamber, because the chamber is part of it too, and that's the way the county wished it.
But the DDA is signing the legal document, Joe.
Right, because they have to. They have to. It has to be a public entity, but they wanted to at least consult with the Chamber of Commerce and other ones too with some input. It said, and I would suppose if we get 5 restaurants that want it, we get 8 heaters. There, you know, you're authorized, I would assume, to go outside of the DDA district. We'll have to find that out.
So this potentially be any place within the township of Oxford?
Correct.
So it doesn't necessarily limit itself to the village.
Correct.
Okay, I think it's an important point to note that it's the entire township then.
But again, it's
Hence cities, villages, and townships.
Okay, but the DDA is signing on behalf of, let's just say it's Tim Hortons up by Myers. That's in the township, so we would include them, right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure we're clear.
And I'm pretty sure that Amy with the chamber, she sent me an email of what items I may be interested in. So I believe that she has all that information from reaching out to different people of what they prefer to have. So when I go over to the village tomorrow, I'll sit down with her and find out where she is with that stuff too.
You're good.
Okay. Okay, the election of the treasurer, should we move along to that?
We need to appoint a treasurer to the DDA. Their duties are basically signatory. Terry and I handle most of the accounting and with Kim's assistance in terms of paying the bills. And so it becomes merely a matter of an annual signing of a report. So that we would need to have someone be that official person as the treasurer for the DDA.
Dorothy Johnson.
I'll support. I'll second that.
Hold on. I was gonna
Oh, it's too late.
nominate Kelsey.
Too late.
No, Bill Dunn's sitting there looking kind of sassy. I don't know.
Not a member.
Bill is not a member yet.
Okay, I'll come back to my nomination of Dorothy Johnson. which was, I believe, seconded.
I seconded it.
Okay, it's been moved second. Can we get the roll call for that, please?
Discussion? Dorothy, do you wish to defer?
Yeah, I mean, if I can do it effectively and to everybody's standard, I'll take it on. But, to be honest, I would probably, like to know 100% what that is to make sure I can do it greatly.
It requires you to sign 2 pieces of paper a year.
Okay, then I can do that. Seems too good to be true, but okay.
Well, there is a speech involved, Dorothy, and an inaugural parade.
So do I need to say yes then? Is that what y'all are waiting on? Okay, yep, okay. Pick me, I'm in.
Thank you.
And do you need the roll call since she accepted, or?
Yes, please.
Okay, if we could get that, please, Justin?
Yes, ma'am. Nicole Ellsworth,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yeah, yep.
Keith Schultz,
Yes.
Laura Herphy,
Yes.
Jonathan Nold,
Absolutely.
Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
and Justin Wilcock, yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dorothy.
Thank you, Dorothy.
And we'll move on to C, the consideration of phasing out the village contract dumpsters in the northeastern quadrant on private property behind homegrown.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Joe. We're in the process of renewing our contract with Public Services with our low bidder. And one of the things that came as a peculiarity to me, and I don't know what the history is the dumpsters behind and on the homegrown brewery property, which is owned by Dave Parker. Those dumpsters out in the back there are completely on private property. And I'm not sure why they were part of our village-wide public dumpster contract. And so at this time, I was considering, I mentioned it to council, they said perhaps we should check with the DDA. I would like to perhaps not include those going forward and let that private building and property owner deal with the private dumpsters on their property. But perhaps there's a reason that I'm not aware of, that maybe it's for uniformity in the downtown or other reasons that this was done. So before moving forward, I wanted to hear if there's something I'm missing there. And I will just say those dumpsters are also used by at least 2 or 3 of the 40 North building at the corner of East and Washington, where Wood Chips and the Magic Brownie and the ladies clothing store now in the south end, they're next to Homegrown Main Street Boutique, I think it is. There is one dumpster right behind that 40 North 4-unit building that is owned or operated by Harmon Glass for their own use, but I think that's exclusively for their use. The other 3 tenants of that building do go out back and share in the use and the cost of those dumpsters that are out back. Again, it's been a bit of problematic dumpster for us every now and then. For instance, today our code officer went back there and the dumpsters are pulled out and on an angle over towards East Street, because once again, the Charter Communications and perhaps AT&T lines are hanging too low for the large garbage truck to pull in there and service those overhead dumpsters, front load dumpsters. So again, we're back in the seat of calling around, trying to fix this problem on property that's not village property. And I'm just trying to find out if there's a necessity for us to continue in this way.
Well, I
Brian,
feel
did you have something? Go ahead. Dorothy?
I just wonder if Mr. Dunn or Susan Versetti might know the history there behind that building, because that was a township building, if I'm not mistaken, at one point.
Yes, and I'm wondering if that was just in a contract when that changed hands and it just remained that way, for ease and now the contract is up. Or if there was a different reason or something that made more sense, again, that maybe I'm not aware of or something, but I think for us to be involved in providing that service and billing out for that service, but it's strictly if it's on private property for private use. Not that the public doesn't sneak in there and use it like they do some of ours, which is always a problem. But I did send an email out to John Powers earlier today that this was a topic that I was looking into, just so he wasn't completely unaware of it. So I didn't know from the DDA's perspective.
If I can provide a little background information, each of the quadrants, except for the Northwest, has 2 dumpster areas. And the intent, according to what I've seen in our documentation, is to have each of these dumpster areas to be convenient for the local businesses. Originally, the dumpsters that are behind homegrown were on township property, which was considered part of the local government property. If Bill or Jonathan wants to discuss how that's changed, I haven't followed that exclusively, but the intent was originally to have 2 dumpster areas in each of the quadrants, except for the Northwest, which there wasn't available to have a second dumpster space, but they do have additional dumpsters within their dumpster container in the Northwest quadrant. So,
Mr. Dunn?
I believe the township did own that property at one time. I don't believe we have any interest in it. When we sold the building, we sold the property with it. That's it.
Mr. Parker wants to donate the property to the village, and we might. The intent is to provide trash waste receptacle services for the northern half of the Northeast quadrant.
Maybe you can do it in exchange for a social district.
Well, and my thoughts were that, I mean, the dumpster location is still available. It's just something that perhaps could be handled by those 3 or 4 businesses that utilize that service. And, it's on the private property, and the 2 private property owners are the ones, or locations are the ones that use it. Sometimes people have even called us and asked about the parking lot up there and asked us to patch it and stuff. And I have to, people assume that's a public parking lot up there, but it is not. Okay. All right. Well, there's nothing really, I guess, new come to light out of this. I wasn't sure. Perhaps it was some larger picture, but okay, we'll take that into consideration.
Okay, so do we need any action on this?
No, ma'am.
No, okay. We'll move along then to the director evaluation framework. Yes, Pete?
In your packet is some information from Michigan Main Street regarding evaluation of the executive director. My issue going forward would be I'd like to move forward with becoming more in compliance with what national and Michigan and Oakland County wants to see in terms of an Oakland County in terms of the executive director's evaluation. I'd like to turn this over to the executive committee, not the organization committee, to look at this in greater detail and move forward with an evaluation of the executive director in more accordance with what the recommendations are from the state, the county, and national.
Okay, Pete?
I would like to make a motion that the Oxford DDA Board give Glenn Pape a 30-day notice of termination of his contract, effective tonight, 12/21/20. He will be paid for the next 30 days, and Glenn shall bring in all Village of Oxford and DDA properties and materials within the next 48 hours to the office.
Second, Cook.
Thank you. It's been moved. Second, any discussion? Or can we do the roll call? There's no discussion.
Yes, ma'am. Nicole Ellsworth,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Laura Herfy,
Yes.
Jonathan Noel,
Yes,
Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
and Justin Wilcox. Yes.
Thank you. Then is there any items moved from the consent agenda?
No.
No? Okay. We can move along to board member comments. Does anybody have any?
I just want to wish everybody
Dorothy?
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you too. Yes, Rod?
I will echo Dorothy's statement there. Merry Christmas to everybody. Not happy holidays, but Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Rod. Merry Christmas to you too. Is there anybody else that has a comment?
Just a Merry Christmas and a
Okay.
Happy New Year.
Pete?
Merry Christmas,
Thank
Happy
you,
New Year,
Pete.
and looking forward to a COVID-free 2021.
I second that.
Thank you.
I'll vote for that.
Thank you. Now, is there any extended public comment? Okay. We just need a motion to adjourn then, correct?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Do we need roll call for this since we're on Zoom?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, roll call, please.
All right, Nicole Johnson.
Nicole
I'm sorry,
Ellsworth.
Nicole Ellsworth.
No problem. You got me and Dorothy together then. Yes,
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Laura Herfy,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Jonathan Nold,
Yes.
Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
Justin Wilcox. Yes, and good night.
thank you. We'll have the next meeting January 18th, 2021 at 7 p.m. And welcome, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you.